Welcome to the Recess Life Podcast. This is the place where we explore play and what it means to get back to your inner child. I'm Louise, your host. Join me as I chat with teachers, entrepreneurs, artists, and thought leaders about how we can live a life of more play and impact. Let's get it started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Recess Life Podcast. I am bringing you this episode the week of Thanksgiving 2020. Can you believe that we have arrived at the holiday season of this year? It's quite unbelievable. When the pandemic started in March, it felt like the holidays were so far removed from the new normal we started living in. But I am glad to be here, and I'm really glad to be here with you. In case you can't tell, this is a solo episode. I just wanted to get on the mic and share some things I've been thinking about and share some things that may be helpful for you as we go into this holiday season. So I hope you enjoy this little time with me. So, Thanksgiving. This is a holiday that's typically all about being with lots of friends and family, eating a big meal together, and sharing things that we are grateful for. I've had many Thanksgivings where it was 20 to 30 people getting together, everyone bringing a dish to share, sitting in all sorts of crazy places at someone's house, whether that was the floor, the couch, a random chair, because who has 30 seats in their house, and sitting close with others, elbow to elbow, lots of talking and music in the air, and enjoying a great meal together. Sometimes we play games and sit around and socialize afterwards. I've also gone on trips with friends for Thanksgiving. Actually, just 3 years ago, I went to Joshua Tree with some friends. We all went on a big road trip down to Joshua Tree, stayed in a house together, cooked dinner together. It was so much fun. And for others, we may have spent it with extended family, where our brothers and sisters, our parents, our aunties, uncles, cousins, whoever, all come over to someone's house for a big dinner. But this year, things look a little different. We are in a pandemic, so most of us, or all of us, I hope, are spending Thanksgiving in our immediate circles. So that might mean people we live with. It might mean a couple people that we've interacted with during the pandemic, so they are safe enough to be in our bubble. Things just look really different. There isn't that big rousing feast with everyone huddled indoors and having a big festive time together. And because things look different, it might be hard for some of us to find things to be grateful for. On top of having a really hard year for some of us, it might feel like there's absolutely nothing we can even think of that we should be grateful for, that we should be reflecting on in a happy manner. A lot of us may be feeling sad or angry about the state of the world and all the unrest that's been happening this year. I totally get it. A lot of this year has been really challenging for me. Most of my life has been turned upside down in some way, and frankly, I have no clue for what's next. My career, my relationships, things I want to spend my time doing, all of that has been thrown into question this year. So if you're feeling scared, angry, sad, uncertain, I totally get it because I'm right there with you. Feeling gratitude is not easy right now. In previous years, it was really easy to think about things to be grateful for because for the most part, if, barring any crazy circumstances in our lives, gratitude is easy. Most of us were living our lives really easily before this year. And now some of us may be just thinking, what's the use? But I want to talk a little bit about why gratitude is especially important for this year. Because despite gratitude being this happy go lucky thing that we throw around a lot, it's actually super, super important. According to some studies, if gratitude is practiced daily, it can have the same effect on our brains as antidepressants. When we express gratitude, our brain releases dopamine and serotonin, which are the feel good chemicals in our brain. The more we release dopamine and serotonin, the more we strengthen those neural pathways in our brain and make it so that we feel good more often. Gratitude improves our relationships with other people. There have been studies done that couples who show gratitude towards each other have a much more life-sustaining relationship. There really isn't a negative reason to work on gratitude. So if you never really took expressing gratitude seriously during Thanksgiving, well, this is the year to do it. You want to be practicing it regularly so that when times get tough, it's not so unnatural for you to express gratitude. So, how to practice gratitude right now in the midst of all this craziness that we're going through? I personally have always struggled with some of the conventional practices of gratitude. There's a really popular practice of writing a list of 5 things you are grateful for each day. And sometimes I would start this practice for a couple days, but then just fall off. Every day it was hard to find different things to be grateful for, and it felt like a chore. For some reason, it just wasn't connecting with me emotionally to write down a list each time. I can only think of so many things in a list before it starts to feel like I'm just grasping for straws. And I think it's because writing a list doesn't really connect with me emotionally. It doesn't help me to feel gratitude on a deeper level. For some reason, writing down a list doesn't bring out feelings of gratitude for myself, even though I am grateful for those things. So I thought I would play on this idea a little bit. No pun intended. This is a podcast about play after all. I found an article that was about a study that was done at UC Berkeley in 2016. The study was done on 300 people who were seeking mental health counseling. These were mainly college students, but they were adults of all ages. And they split up the 300 people in 3 groups. Each group received mental health counseling, but one group was asked to write a letter of gratitude to someone each day. Another group was asked to write down their thoughts and feelings about the negative experiences they've had, and the last group wasn't asked to do anything additional. What they found was that the group that wrote letters of gratitude experienced much higher levels of well-being and positive mental health than the other 2 groups, even though they all received mental health counseling. And what's really interesting is that these letters weren't even necessarily sent out to the people they were addressed to for the people to experience those higher levels of mental health. When I read this, something clicked for me because I think writing a letter just resonates so much deeper than writing a list. For some reason, when you write a letter, you are in the experience of gratitude and love for someone on a much deeper level. People write love letters in movies for a reason, right? So I thought I would play on this idea a little bit. I thought I would write some letters of gratitude to a few people in my life for a few days and see what happened. And I want to challenge you to do this as well. It doesn't have to be your significant other. It can be someone in your life who has made an impact on you this year, someone you may have just met in passing, but they impacted you in a positive way. And I just want you to sit and write a letter of gratitude to them, a love note, if you will. I want you to write what you appreciate about them and why they've meant something to you this year. You don't even have to send the letter to them. Do you experience higher levels of well-being and happiness and joy when you write this letter? I am actually going to share one of the letters I wrote. This letter is for my friend Jeff Harry, who is going to be a guest on this podcast in a future episode. We just did our interview and I'm so excited to share it with you. So you'll hear my and Jeff's story of how we've met on that episode. But for now, I'm just going to read my letter of gratitude to him. Dear Jeff, it has been such an awesome blessing to meet you during the pandemic. I feel so much more connected to the play community and am so grateful for your generosity in connecting me to so many wonderful folks these past few months. I admire your spirit and energy and the way you encourage others and lift them up. I look up to the way you create videos and content without overthinking. It inspires me to stop overthinking and just create. When we get together to brainstorm funny ideas for TikToks, I feel freed up to come up with the craziest idea because I know you will build on it and make it even better. Thanks for coming into my life and being a bright light in my 2020. So Jeff is someone that I've met this year, and if I can write a letter like that to someone that I've only known a few months, there are so many other letters I could write for the people I've known for much longer. So I challenge you to pick one person to write a love note, a letter of gratitude to each day this week, and to see what that does for your happiness and your well-being, and to see if it releases that serotonin and dopamine like I talked about earlier. If you are really having trouble thinking of a person on one of the days, I am going to offer you another challenge. I'm not going to let you get away with this. Think of an object or something abstract that you are thankful for this year. And I want you to write a love note to that. Yes, some object, something that's not alive. There is something that you are grateful for this year that has made a positive impact on you, and I want you to write a letter to it. I have so many examples to pull from. I discovered my new favorite pair of pants because of this pandemic. They are comfortable and stylish and have an elastic waistband. They are called paper bag pants. I bought them off Amazon. I know Amazon's not so great sometimes, but they have been my saving grace for my wardrobe this year. So I am super grateful for my paper bag pants. I am super grateful for some of the skincare influencers I've started following because I have started using skincare products in a whole new way this year. So for those of you that are watching this on video, I have no foundation on. I only have concealer, some eye makeup, and some lipstick on, but nothing on my skin. It's just skincare. And that's because I started following skincare influencers and buying skincare that takes care of my skin. So I'm super grateful, yes, for those influencers, but for these products that I've bought. They've done well for my skin. But those are just two silly examples. There are so many other examples I'm sure that you can think of to demonstrate what I'm talking about for writing a love letter to an inanimate object. Here is my letter to my ukulele, which I have right here. Dear ukulele, when I first saw you on Amazon, I knew you were it. You have been with me since I embarked on my ukulele stardom dreams. You have been loyal to me, even when I didn't pick you up for months at a time. I can always depend on you to sound just like you did last time. I am grateful that you have been a source of joy during the pandemic, even on days when it feels like all is hopeless. You teach me about being patient with myself when I forget chords and so much more. Thank you for being an object I can always count on to bring me happiness and joy. So that took me all of 5 minutes to write. I set a timer for 5 minutes for both of my letters and just wrote to my heart's content. And it's silly, it's funny, but maybe that's the joy. We need that serotonin and dopamine to be released in our brains as much as possible in the healthy way. So I just encourage you to give this a shot. Maybe for Thanksgiving, whoever you're spending it with, maybe it's just one person, maybe it's 3 other people, you write a letter. You each write a letter to someone that's important to you. Maybe it's the person that you're spending it with. And then you write a letter each to a funny object that has given you joy during this pandemic. And then you read the letters out loud to each other. And maybe you do it in a dramatic reading with background music. There are so many ways to make it fun and silly. So I encourage you to give it a shot. You definitely can't lose anything, and it definitely can't hurt. Even though we are so constrained by our external circumstances right now, there are still so many possibilities. An article actually just came out in the New York Times this past weekend called Abandon Your Script. This year we have a chance to build a different kind of holiday, and it's all about looking at improv principles and how we can apply them to Thanksgiving this year. So improv is all about looking at what are our constraints and what are the offers that come from those constraints. And from there, what are the possibilities that come from these offers? So even though we're constrained to maybe just spending Thanksgiving with a few people and we're confined to not being able to travel, what are the offers within that? So the article offers a few examples. There's a family that instead of being all together, they're going to be doing a Zoom talent show. And the kids will be able to perform on Zoom for all the members of the extended family that are going to be on Zoom. Maybe you could ask one designated person in your household to play reporter for the night, and they'll go around and ask interesting and pointed questions at each members of the family or each members of the household that are spending Thanksgiving together. Just because we don't have the full capacity of possibilities we did before, there is still so much we can do with what we have, whether that is doing a Zoom talent show or writing a love letter to an inanimate object that has given you joy this year. So I will link that article in the show notes for this episode, and I'll type out the instructions on what to do to write your love letter, but the instructions are pretty simple. I hope that you'll take this as an opportunity to play and find joy in the midst of the constraints that we have this year for the holidays. So I will be heading up to see my parents, who now live about a couple hours away. My sister and I are getting tested beforehand, and we'll be wearing masks until we get our results back. But I am looking forward to spending that time with them. I feel really lucky that they only live a couple hours away now, rather than a plane ride away. I hope that you are spending it with some people that you love, and that you just remember that there is so much opportunity for joy and play in the midst of all this. And I will keep being by your side, trying to help you find that. So I will see you soon for another episode. We have a few guests left in the final few episodes of season 4, and I'm so excited to share them with you. So I will see you very soon. Until then, take care of yourself, and don't forget to get out and play today. Are you looking for more play in your life? Make sure you're subscribed to the Recess Life podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the podcast platforms. You can also find the video interviews on YouTube. Don't forget to leave a review. Your feedback is so important to me, and it helps others to find the podcast. You can also follow the conversation on Instagram at The Recess Life. And lastly, you can go to therecesslife.com where you'll find all the episodes and show notes on each of our guests. I hope this podcast helps you to become a little more playful today than you were yesterday. Until next time, don't forget to get out and play today.